Our next guest is someone I listen to every week. His insights and teachings have made me a better person and allowed me to live a better life. Please welcome to the show, Davidji is here. David, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Thanks for inviting me, Derek. It's great to be back with you.
It's great to have you. Now we're on TV. It's a little different than being on the radio.
Yeah.
We don't have as much time as we do on the radio, which is so sad, but I really want to hear about your new book, Destressifying. You've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah.
Tell us what we're going to get when we read this book.
Stress is here. The definition of stress is how we respond when our needs are not met. And that happens between 8 and 15 times a day. Right now, think about how many times so far this day your needs have not been met. How you respond, how you react to that 8 to 15 times a day becomes the fabric of your life.
Wow.
So after spending about a decade researching and studying and spending time with hundreds of thousands of people in the military, in law enforcement, pretty high-stressed business leaders, entrepreneurs, really analyzing and taking in what were the steps that they could take to allow them to transcend stress.
Yeah.
So I've been working on it. It's finally birthed. It's here. Destressifying. It's not a word, but it is now. And hopefully it'll sweep through the planet, and people will really dive into these practices, which include heightening our awareness through meditation, finding ways to communicate more consciously, more lovingly to get our needs met, identifying and prioritizing our needs, raising our emotional intelligence, and really discovering our purpose, our meaning. And if we can put our attention on those 5 core areas, Destressifying will allow us to live our lives with greater grace and greater ease.
Fantastically said. And you know, you've been helping me do this already for a long time. By the way, my autocorrect doesn't like the destressifying word yet. We got to get that fixed somehow.
Right.
But 16 seconds was something that was huge for me. And you still have that as a hashtag that's trending out there.
Yeah.
Hashtag 16 seconds. Is that in the book as well?
It is. You know, it's funny. I started off teaching when I started teaching special forces and people in the military. They were like, don't talk to me about meditation. I said, well, let me teach you a 16-second pattern interrupt. And we can do that now, and all of our viewers can
Let's do that. Can we do
play
16
along with
seconds
that.
right now?
Yeah, let's do
Let's
that.
do
So,
that. Okay.
so first of all, think about something that's been irritating you, something that's been disturbing or bothering you. Don't go too deep. This isn't therapy. But just envision that concept in your mind's eye. And when you're pretty clear on it, maybe you even associate a face with that discomfort or irritation. And now close your eyes, and through your nostrils, take a long, slow, deep breath in, and watch that breath as it moves down into your belly, and hold it there, and watch it, and witness it, and observe it. And now slowly watch it as you release it. Watch it move up your chest into your throat, out through your nostrils again, and hold that breath out, and then watch it as it dissipates into the ether. And when it feels comfortable, you can open your eyes, breathe normally. That was 16 seconds. In those 16 seconds, if you were playing along, and if you were playing along, you weren't in the past, you weren't in the future, you weren't thinking about that irritation.
Yeah.
You were fully present for those 16 seconds. Technically, that's a meditation.
It is.
So people might be going, no, don't make me meditate. The devil will steal my soul. And really, all we did was introduce a really powerful pattern interrupt. And the funny thing was I started, hashtagging that 16 seconds and showing myself in various meditation spaces. And it was this peaceful, loving, sweet, angelic hashtag. And then suddenly Ronda Rousey, who's that fighter, she started defeating people in 16 seconds. So she started hashtagging people. And so if you go on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter and you click on hashtag 16 seconds, you see people either meditating or with like a foot on their neck being knocked out in 16 seconds.
That's hilarious. Well, what's funny is what you said earlier about stress, that it's here.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from you about emotions. I didn't realize I was an emotional person, or how emotional of a person I was, until I heard your guided meditation. I think it was from one of the 21-day challenges through the Chopra Center from years ago.
Right.
And you talked about how, when you feel something, when you have an emotion, it's a reaction to your needs either being met or not being met, right? And if your needs are being met, then you're probably happy, and if they aren't, then you probably aren't. And so if you can recognize that, when I start to feel something, okay, what need is not being met right now?
Right.
And how serious is it? Because we tend to take everything super seriously.
Especially in the moment.
Right? So I think that was a huge thing for me personally, to be able to recognize and then consciously go through. And every time that occurs now, I'm able to take a step back and go, all right, what need isn't being met? And how serious is it really? Because most of the time what you find is it's something completely that doesn't matter.
Well, we're ruled by our chemicals unless we make the conscious choice to master our emotions. Otherwise, it's hormones, chemicals, they're surging in, and suddenly the thing, the guy taps your bumper. If you're in a bad mood before that, you jump out of the car and you start screaming.
Right.
If you're listening to your favorite song, you're like, oh, that's okay, dude. And then you keep driving. The same exact action. How do we respond in that moment? So I think it's an ongoing process. I think as long as we're human, as long as we have breath in our bodies, we're going to have to put some attention on this to make ourselves better versions. I have not yet met anyone, and I've met so many great spiritual leaders. I've yet to meet someone who's enlightened. I think once you're enlightened, that's your last breath, and then you're into another realm or who knows where.
Now, your teachings are very spiritual, but you don't really identify with a religion, at least that I can tell. I mean, I get your Life Tools video every week. I do your weekend meditation, which is like the Christmas gift. Every single week on Fridays, I get this guided meditation from Davidji, davidji.com. You can sign up for it there. It's 100% free. And you get this every week, and I'm so happy when I see it, and I'm like, oh, yes, I have a sweet guided meditation from Davidji here that we get to do. And it's always unbelievable. I mean, you are extremely talented at guiding meditations, just amazing. I'm telling you. I've done a lot of them. I can tell you you're the best. Do you identify with a specific religion? Are you Buddhist? Would you say that?
It's interesting. What I found, I've explored so many different types of ancient philosophies and timeless wisdom traditions. And what seemed to resonate with me was to find the thing in each one of them that really felt right, that really resonated. And so I don't actually have one guiding religion. I love the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. I love the compassionate Christ consciousness. I love the peacefulness of the Buddha. And I love so many different components of so many different religions and teachings that rather than put myself in a box, I really felt, you know what, let me, and I do that in my teacher training too. That's why I call it the Masters of Wisdom in Meditation Teacher Training, because I want my students not to be a clone of me. I want them to find the threads of every philosophy that really work, because probably there's only one message, and it's love. But there's probably about, how many people on the planet? 8 billion? So there's 8 billion paths to get to that. And at the end of our life, we get to the top of the mountain, and we look down, and we go, oh, there was 8 billion other paths to get here. Mine, this was mine. This is the one that resonated with me. So I have deep honor and respect for every religion and philosophy. And the ones that really resonate with me, those are the ones I incorporate into living my life.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
I think I do. I think I do. I think in a, I think that when we take our last breath, it's not over. I don't know what's on the other side. I did some kooky journeying while I was in India, and I met the naughty palm leaf reader who told me all about my past lives and my future lives and my moment of death. Like too much detail about my past. I was like, how do you know that stuff? And he's like, it's right here on the leaf. And I go, so I don't even get that, how that even happens. But I know that when people say to me, I think the reason that I'm not attracting love in my life is because in my past life I have unresolved issues. And I like to say, how about we go back 5 years instead of 100 years? The fact that you were Marie Antoinette in your past life, I don't think that's it. I think it's the fact that you're bitter over having your heart broken, and you probably need to forgive yourself a little bit more. And so I might believe in it, but I don't think that's the driving force. I think we are empowered, conscious beings who, as long as we acknowledge what's happened in the past, we can own the present and we can step into the future and we can live our dream lives without saying, but in 1845, I wasn't a good person and that's why I'm being punished in this life. So I think I believe that, but I think what happened in the past, week probably is more relevant.
Okay, that makes sense. What do you think about the yoga revolution that's going on right now, especially here in Southern California? Is yoga something that should be a part of everyone's life?
I think it's great. You know, yoga is a Sanskrit word. It means union. So it's all like one love. It's can't we get along? It's the whole it's a little kooky, probably outside of the whole San Diego world, where you go like Namaste, my friend, and everyone's talking Sanskrit and everyone's getting in various poses. I think it's a great addiction, considering that there's so many other addictions out there that are probably not nourishing for people to be connecting a little bit to their bodies, to their hearts, to their mind, slowing down a little bit, learning to meditate, even if you're just laying in shavasana at the end of your yoga class for 3 minutes. I think it's great. So I endorse that habit and I endorse that addiction, considering there are so many other paths that we could be going on.
No kidding. And there's one more thing I wanted to get from you today, because very few of the other meditation leaders out there use the Om as much as you do. And I think it's one of those things, like when my daughter first learned that I was meditating, she was like, "What are you doing like this, Daddy?" Oh, and it was funny because I was like, "Yeah, kind of. If you just do that and see what happens." Where do you think that word, that sound, that vibration fits into this whole thing?
Well, the reason I wrote Destressifying was so that I could really talk about these teachings in a non-woo-woo way to the mainstream world. In the last couple of years, I've been working with law enforcement, with very, very serious business leaders, bankers, the military, and they don't resonate with any of this. So it's not incumbent on me to force it on them. But I think it's a vibration. It's a sound. We sing songs all the time. We have all these connections to various music and musical performers. And I think Om is just like a cool thing that anyone can do. And it really is just heralding the waking state, the sleeping state, the dreaming state, and the state beyond. It's taking those three, waking, dreaming, sleeping, and when you and when you put it all together, that's the transcendent space, which, whether you're spiritual or not, we know that, there's either God, or there's the universe, or there's Jesus, or there's whomever you're praying to. So we know that if you can just have a little faith in something bigger than you, then Om is sort of it heralds our oneness. It heralds our universality. And it speaks to that I'm neither above nor below anybody else. We're truly connected. And our issues are the same issues. Our issues are universal issues. So it's sort of like saying, as famous as someone gets, as rich as someone gets, as amazing as someone gets, they're still putting their pant legs on one leg at a time, pants on one leg at a time, and they're still not higher or lower than anybody else.
Yeah, great stuff from Davidji. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Yeah,
really
thank you,
appreciate it.
Derek. It's great
Absolutely,
to be
it's
here.
been great to have you. If you want to be Om Boys with me and Davidji, go to davidji.com. Order the latest book that he's written, Destressifying, something everyone can learn from, and stick around for more Smarter San Diego, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else.